When applying for a job, most people can get away with filling out some information and uploading their resume. But when you're a designer, you also have to send over an entire website that represents who you are. No pressure, right? Embarking on your portfolio can be intimidating, and I recall feeling overwhelmed because of all the moving pieces. I would spend hours every day writing my case studies, playing with various color schemes, changing the layout of my homepage over and over again, and tinkering with anything I could get my hands on because I convinced myself that it had to be perfect. So when do you draw the line and say, enough is enough? Before I get into some advice I have while creating your portfolio, let's first talk about the perfectionism procrastination cycle. So we first need to understand what perfectionism is. And perfectionism is rooted out of a fear of judgment. And when you crave flawless results, you create these very rigid and unrealistic expectations for yourself to protect yourself from failure. And then you set out to work on this portfolio that has this insanely ambitious vision, and it doesn't match up with your actual skill set. So since your vision and your skill sets aren't matching up, you start to procrastinate. Because you have this fear that if you can't do it perfectly, then why do it at all? And then we start to shame ourselves and constantly remind ourselves that the task isn't getting done. And it really doesn't help that we're comparing our portfolios to other people's. And this just creates this immense feeling of low confidence. So then we decide, let's pull ourselves up from the ground, and we work so hard that we burn ourselves into the ground so much because we're basically trying to achieve the impossible. And then we rinse and we repeat this cycle. So for your sanity, let's break that cycle today. So something that's really important to remember before you set out to work on your portfolio is that humans make mistakes. Did you know that one of the most important aspects of being a UX designer is being able to make mistakes? Designers need to be able to experiment and learn by doing, even if the designs aren't 100% perfect. Because guess what? That is the only way to grow. So from the get-go, take that bar and set it very low, like basically to the ground. And know that your first designs will not always be the one that ships. It could be your second, your fourth, your fifth, maybe your 100th. But the only way to know for sure if it's right is to get it out in front of the users. So basically treat your portfolio like an MVP. Which brings me to my next point, and that's knowing what to prioritize. With my portfolio, along with any designs that I'm working on, I've learned to separate which tasks deserves the bulk of my time and attention and which ones that I can ease up on. So basically put your product manager hat on and prioritize the features that you need to work on for your portfolio. So for example, I'd ask yourself, is the color of my portfolio going to make or break me getting a job in UX design? Probably not. So if it ends up being black and white, then who cares? But are the case studies going to make or break me getting a job in UX design? Most certainly yes. So before you start working on your portfolio, or as you're working on it, start to write a list and start prioritizing everything that you're going to need in order to achieve your ultimate goal. Now, this one has been something I've been battling for years, but what are you supposed to do when you come across a sea of beautiful, beautiful UX design portfolios that aren't yours? So this is something that I try and remember all the time. I write it on a Post-it note somewhere on my fridge. You should probably write it on a Post-it note too, or on your forehead, or Sharpie it, or tattoo it. I don't know, but you need to remember that you are enough. Just the way that you are. It's really, really important to remind yourself that your work as a UX designer does not define who you are. I like to think about it like this. Your portfolio is literally just a cover letter. There will always be someone who has a way better cover letter than mine. They might have thicker paper, or they might have a cool customized font, or maybe it's even scented.
Oh, and it's scented. I think it gives it a little something extra, don't you think?
So trying to be perfect is not the solution, because having a perfect cover letter or having a perfect portfolio, it just doesn't exist. But what you can do is free yourself by embracing all of your uniqueness and style as a designer and create the portfolio that you want, not what someone else wants. And please trust me on this one, the more true you stay to yourself with your portfolio, the easier it is going to be to find a perfect match when you're applying for companies. All right, so my final advice is very, very simple. Just quit. I'm 100% no saint. Like, it probably took me about 40 times before I finally quit working on my portfolio. And this is a piece of advice that I have repeated over and over on this channel. But if I would have quit on my first or maybe my second time of working on my portfolio, I probably could have become a UX designer much sooner than I did. And after having experience hiring design interns, I look back thinking that I definitely could have gone with a more stripped down version of my portfolio when I was first applying to my first UX design job. job. So please, please, please give yourself some grace, reward yourself, take some breaks, or just stop altogether and start applying. All right, wanna learn more about UX portfolios? Then you're gonna wanna watch this video next. What was it saying? Here we go. I wanna go home. Oh my god, do I have shit in my teeth?